Hi, I'm Tracy West. I'm a graduate of the Parent Project and trained facilitator for the Roseville Police Department. We partnered with Oakmont High School Advanced Media to show you how the Parent Project can help change your life and that of your child's.
Teens can be very manipulative and they can be master negotiators.
It's a nightmare.
And I didn't realize how big I was affecting or how largely I was affecting other people's lifestyles.
And there's just no hope. There's just despair. And you don't think it's ever going to get any better. Everything you try, it just doesn't work.
Parenting is a model for what you would aspire to have in your own kid's life.
Well, I think as a police department and as a community as a whole, we really have to address the root causes and the root issues in young people's lives and in families' lives.
Freshman year, everything changed. I started smoking, I started drinking, and I started making bad lifestyle changes.
As a Parent Project facilitator, when the parents walk through the doors, some of the behaviors their children are displaying at home are just out and out lying, screaming, family conflict. There's violence against the parents or siblings. The crimes are being committed. They're destroying property at home, stealing cars, involved in drugs, alcohol, tobacco use.
The problems that him and I had were right here in our own home, things that was going on in the neighborhood, things that he did with other kids.
It never really stayed like, Jared, this is what you did, instantaneously escalate to screaming and yelling back and forth, and then in the same, literally goes in the same boat. I wouldn't learn because it wasn't about why he's arguing anymore, it was about why he's yelling at me now.
We have a really structured home, and she was not used to structure, and so we're having a really difficult time.
I was having difficulties in his discipline. I've raised other children before him, but he's strong-willed.
There's so many different ways that parents deal with their children's behavior based on, I think, pretty much their own morals and their ethics and how the parent themselves was brought up.
I tried everything that I knew as a parent, and having read many parenting books and taken many parenting classes, I was still finding that I wasn't getting results. And so when I had to start having police intervention, I knew that things were somewhat out of control.
Just like each of us as a different parent, there are different ways, there are that many different ways to deal with kids and to address their needs.
Well, what we try to do in law enforcement is we try to identify the underlying issues. What's causing these issues? It could be a lot of different factors, but the behavior is not conducive to a good behavior, or we wouldn't be involved.
So Parent Project, I found out about from the police department. I reached out to get help.
Like many people, I'm a single parent, and it was recommended that instead of there being two sets of rules and expectations for the children living in different houses, that if there was a common set of expectations for both houses and both parents were on the same page, it would only benefit the children.
After 20 years in law enforcement, I knew statistically that Parent Project did work, but then as a parent having to go through it myself, it was life-changing.
Literally, I looked at cops as in they're just rude, they didn't care, they weren't there to help me. And which is obviously not true, because the first thing that they would do when they get there is they wouldn't just tell me, yo, you're stupid, stop doing this. A lot of them would just be like, why do you do this? And they'd make us question ourselves.
So the Parent Project is the only parent training program that really focuses on the most destructive adolescent behaviors. It also focuses on what the critical issues that parents are facing today and provides them with concrete step-by-step solutions.
I learned a lot of different things. There were many different tools. We learned about, everything from drugs to sexting to, how to, discipline your child in a way that's effective.
They get support for one another because a lot of families have a single mother, single father. They don't have the support to help them with a tough situation. Parent Project gives them that.
For our daughter specifically, she understood too what our job was and what her job was as the child and us as the parents.
I think the most effective way to deal with the teens is, first of all, to build trust with their kids. And to do that, you have to spend time with them.
Definitely having someone who cared was the biggest influence, because once you realize that someone else cares about you, it makes you realize that what you're worth and that you can be better.
I think the most important thing that a parent or a family can do is just make sure that their kids know that you're there for them and that you love them no matter what they do.
I would say parents are the most important things in any kid's life. I know my life would be much different if it wasn't for the things my mom did to me and for me.
I guess it did draw me closer to my father in the end, honestly, I could say that, because even though we had a lot of conflicts that tore us apart, in the end, once we resolved those conflicts and all the strings were tied again, it was like we were latched together, and now I can just tell him whatever and not have to worry about it.
Like many parents, I thought that I parented perfect. I thought that everything I was doing was right. And I've come to find out that many things I was doing were right, but there was also little tweaks that I could make that would make a huge change in my children's lives. And that's what I really wanted. So for that, I thank the Parent Project for everything that they've done and the tools that they've given me.
I've seen progress in my son that I frankly was feeling that it would never happen. And I'm so happy that I found Parent Project. It's a real step forward, and I want to reiterate that it's really about progress, not perfection.
So at the Roseville Police Department, when we decided to implement the Parent Project, we compared 15 families before the Parent Project and our calls for service, and those 15 families generated 87 calls for service. 6 months after Parent Project graduation, those same 15 families only generated 4 calls for service. So the big message here is what the patrol officer has known all along, and that is, in 87 trips, we didn't solve the problem. But you give the parents the right tools, and the parents solve the problem.